Good evening. We are extremely excited here at Catch to welcome you to this evening for our virtual event in 2022 for Catch the Flavor. This is our fifth time having Catch the Flavor, this time like none other, as we had an in-person event last night in Nampa and tonight online. And we are glad that you are here for an evening of storytelling, of learning about Catch's program, from hearing the brave and resilient of our clients, and I'm excited to get to introduce to you now our MC for tonight. Karen Lear is a Idaho 6. She's a journalist. She has a deep passion for broadcast journalism. She has come to Idaho, where she's been here now for 9 years from Florida, and she is a proud Idahoan who loves being here in the Treasure Valley, where she lives in Meridian with her husband and 2-year-old daughter. And when she's not running after that daughter or the next news story, she likes cooking, baking, and gardening. Karen, we're glad you're here.
From memory, that was very impressive. Thank you so much for that warm welcome, Andrew. And thanks to all of you who are joining us virtually from home tonight. We do want to know a little bit more about who is joining us this evening. So please feel free to chime in, introduce yourself in the comment section right now of that live stream, and be sure to take some pictures and videos throughout the event tonight and share them on social media. We want to know more about your Catch the Flavor house parties. So please be sure to use that hashtag Catch the Flavor and tag at Catch Idaho. So tonight's going to be very special. We have great food, of course, provided by Open Table Boise. We have great information tonight about Catch, what they're all about, and the current situation of people facing homelessness here in the Treasure Valley. We're also going to hear from a former Catch client who will be sharing their own personal resilience story tonight. We also have a chance to raise enough funds to house 10 local families who are experiencing homelessness here in the Treasure Valley. Currently, more than 340 families in our community are experiencing homelessness, and they need our help. That's why we are all here tonight. And we encourage you to share this broadcast with your network of friends and families right now online, and share your comments in the comment section throughout the evening. Before we dive into tonight's events, we would love to take a moment to thank tonight's amazing sponsors. So tonight's title sponsor is Optum Idaho Healthcare. The Pacific Companies is our Welcome Home sponsor. Housewarming sponsors include St. Alphonsus, Tomlinson and Associates, Hawkins Company, Select Health, and St. Luke's. Housing First Advocates sponsors include Boise Cascade, First Interstate Bank, Kendall Auto Group, Horizon Credit Union, Idaho Central Credit Union, Hewlett Packard, HP, Alomberg, and Perkins Coie and Atterix PEO. To kick things off tonight, we do have a brief video to share with you from tonight's title sponsor, Optum Idaho.
Optum Idaho is proud to support Catch and its mission to end homelessness in the Treasure Valley. Many factors can impact the health of people and communities more so than clinical healthcare services, such as the physical, economic, and social environments. These factors, also known as the social determinants of health, require a different approach to individual and community health. Because of rapidly rising prices for housing in the Treasure Valley, Idaho families are experiencing housing instability now more than ever. With no stable place to live, the physical and mental well-being of Idaho families and communities suffer. The consequences of this result in costly downstream impacts to the overall health of Idahoans, such as the development of behavioral health diagnoses or chronic health issues. Optum Idaho prioritizes addressing health inequities that prevent people from living their healthiest lives. That is why Optum Idaho is proud to support Catch and its mission to improve the health of Idahoans by ending homelessness.
Well, thank you so much, Optum Idaho, for your participation in tonight's event. And we're now going to hear from Catch's Our Path Home team. So tonight we are joined with Jett Curtis, the Our Path Home Program Director, and Casey McGee, Our Path Home Outreach Specialist. So Jett, we want to start with you. If you want to go ahead and just introduce yourself a little bit and tell us more about the Our Path Home Connect program.
Sure. I'm a social worker and I'm the director of our Connect program, like Karen said. That is our inReach team and our outreach team. Casey McGee's here to tell you a little bit more about the outreach team, so I'll really focus on inReach. And that includes our housing crisis hotline and our coordinated entry team. Housing Crisis Hotline is our single phone line that we have for Ada County. Anyone experiencing any type of housing crisis can call that line. It's 208-336-HOME. I believe we're going to post that for anyone. Any type of housing crisis, you can call that single line and get your questions answered, have a little bit of an assessment, get some resources and information, and perhaps get referred to the right agency that can help you based on your unique needs. So we do house the Housing Crisis Hotline in our Connect program. The other program that we have is our coordinated entry. That's the access point or the single point in Ada County for anyone experiencing homelessness who can come in and get an assessment, sit down with a housing specialist and spend some time going through your barriers and figuring out what kind of housing programs might be right for you, what kind of referrals and information you need to resolve your housing crisis, your homelessness as quickly as possible. All of the teams on Connect have a single mission, and that is to connect people experiencing homelessness with the right resources and information and referrals that they need to end homelessness as quickly as possible.
Well, thank you so much. And then Casey, will bring you, we kind of teased it there. If you want to go ahead and tell us a little bit more about the outreach program and what your involvement looks like.
So outreach takes another step out into the community. When people can't make it into the Our Path Home Connect office, we try to reduce that barrier by meeting people where they're at, physically, emotionally, mentally. So if somebody has trouble getting around town, we can go and meet them wherever they are and try to facilitate those services or streamline them getting connected with what they need. Sometimes people are just kind of fearful of accessing new services, so we're able to kind of do a warm handoff on getting people set up. There's also people that just don't know what resources are available, so we can again like meet people where they're at. Some people are new to homelessness. Some people are new to town, so we can kind of grease the gears to start getting people moving where they need to go. Also, one major thing that we specialize in is treating people with serious mental illness. That alone can make navigating the resources in the homeless services very difficult. So we specifically seek out people who experience serious mental illness or are unsheltered and try to help them, walk with them the next couple steps towards accessing the services that they need.
No, and it's so important what you said about meeting people exactly where they are, because I imagine a lot of people in our community that are facing this issue may not have ever been in that situation before. Are there some common misconceptions that you guys see that you wish people better understood about people facing homelessness right now in our area?
Well, one of the things that I come across very frequently is the misconception that kind of people who are experiencing homelessness don't want to be a part of the community. Almost everyone I talk to wants to be involved in the community in some way. I talk to a lot of people about getting into some kind of service, like volunteer service. There is a lot of insecurity that goes along with the status of homelessness. So people want to be a part of our community, but either they can't find a place where that's going to that they can fully be welcomed and be confident in stepping into that place. And sometimes they just don't know how to be involved while also like trying to meet their basic needs as well. So I have a lot of conversations with people about how to get involved in our community in a kind of a safe and nurturing way. And to the extent that that's one of our primary goals of working with people is their wellness. How can we kind of reconnect people with their community?
Other misconceptions that I hear are that people experiencing homelessness are lazy or they just need to get a job. And the truth is, a lot of the people that we work with have jobs, and about a third of the people we work with are permanently disabled. And so they're on SSI, Social Security Supplemental Income, which is $900 a month, by the way, and not nearly enough to be able to afford to live in this housing market, right? So it's poverty, really. And then as far as being lazy, I think people underestimate how much time and energy it takes to survive your day experiencing homelessness. Like, well, imagine waking up and not knowing where you're going to eat or shower or how you're going to get around, where you're going to sleep. It's a more than a full-time job just to figure out how to survive when you don't have a home.
Now, I'm sure there are things that everyday people in the community can do to help better a situation for someone they may come across. What advice would you guys have for somebody who may see somebody as some positive actions that they can take to act towards somebody who may be facing homelessness in our area?
I think the first thing the community can do is really think about giving. We have so much. What do you have to give? Is it your time? Is it your belongings? Is it your money? Private nonprofits need money in order to serve the folks that we serve. So find a nonprofit that you can relate to the mission and figure out what you can give as far as money. We do get asked by the community, like, should I be giving money to someone who's panhandling or flying a sign? And what I think where we're coming from is it's sort of up to you. There's certainly nothing wrong with giving somebody money when they're asking for money based on your comfort level. Not all of those folks are experiencing homelessness, and that's fine. They are most likely experiencing poverty. So if it's in your heart and you're moved to do so, you can give money. Just know it's a gift, and you may not know exactly what that's going to be used for. If you're not super comfortable with that, you can always ask the person, hey, I would like to get you something tangible. What could that be? Is it, a sandwich? Is it a pair of socks? Like, there are other ways to give directly to people too.
I think tangible resources are always valuable, but I think what the homeless community is really lacking in is those intangible resources of, just simple human kindness. It goes a long ways to simply say hello to somebody, simply acknowledge somebody, wave to somebody. I am as guilty as anybody else for trying to keep my eyes forward at the stoplight, but you wouldn't believe how much just looking at somebody and giving them a wave can mean to somebody. We this past year, we actually sent some holiday cards to clients of ours who were in jail, and when they got out, every one of them came back to our office and thanked us specifically for sending them some greetings.
Well, that's a great example. Compassion is free. We can all give a smile and a wave. And if you have the means to do so, to give something tangible or a gift in some way, can make a big difference. So thank you both so much, Kesey and Jett, for everything that you are doing.
Thank you, Karen.
Thanks.
lot of auction items and experiences there. So please be sure to check those out online and share those with your network of friends and family. Now we are going to learn more about Catch's rapid rehousing program. So joining us now is Jeremy Blaze, the Catch Housing Director, and Crystal Arteaga Juarez, who is a case manager with Catch. So Jeremy, we're going to start with you. We'd love to hear a little bit more about yourself and the Taking Root Rapid Rehousing Program.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Like you said, I'm Jeremy. I'm the director of the housing program. We work with families who are experiencing homelessness. They either are experiencing literal homeless or fleeing domestic violence. That's really the only criteria to come into our program. We try to help to get them housed as quickly as possible. It's called rapid rehousing, and it's not always as rapid as you would hope, but that is our goal. We would like to house people as quickly as we can. Our goal is to get them out of the traumatizing experience of homelessness, get them into safe and stable housing so that they can start working on whatever goals they have for their life. We are fortunate enough we can help them with application fees. Sometimes we can help pay off debts owed to landlords or for like past utilities. We just try to help them with whatever's needed to get into housing. Sometimes it's ID, sometimes it's social security cards, really whatever it is. Once we secure a lease, we literally will help them with the move-in process. We get donations from the community, and we have some great community partners that help us furnish the homes of our families. And then from that point on, it's a lot of case management. Really, we meet with them at least on a monthly basis, usually more. We can go into their home or we can meet them wherever, and we work on the goals that they have to stabilize. Most of our families stabilize within about 6 to 8 months, but we do have the ability to pay their rent longer for up to 24 months if needed. And it's a joint effort that they do with the case manager to individualize their own goals and find ways to achieve those. Our goal is for them to have as many connections and supports as they can within the community before we disengage. We can't work with them for a long period of time, so we want them to feel comfortable with the supports they have whenever we disconnect and they graduate from the program.
All right, then, Crystal, we'll bring you into the conversation. We want to know a little bit more about what the role looks like as a case manager. So describe your style and those key milestones that you help your clients achieve. What are we working towards?
Yeah, so Jeremy gave a really good explanation of what we do at the beginning. So we partner up with the families to try to identify how quickly we can get them into housing. And we always say as quickly as the market allows us to, because we have to work within our means. And we help them find housing. And then once we get them housed, each family's journey is completely unique. So we all try to have an honest relationship with our clients, build up their trust, so we can identify what root issues we can address or what strengths we can build on. Once we identify some of those strengths and some of the bumps we have to address, we try to make concrete goals. So each family is different. So we have some families who need to really focus on mental health and address the traumatic experience they just went through, while others may need to do substance use or others may just need intensive budgeting. But each family goes on their own journey, and we just try to break that down into tiny steps and kind of refer them to community partners and get them involved with the community so they can complete those goals.
I'm sure everybody's unique story is different. Everyone's coming from a different path in their life and where they need to go next. But, without any identifying details, can you share a client story with us that stands out?
Yes. So I always think COVID really demonstrated how households can be impacted, especially single adult households. So one of my clients was a single mom. She had a teenage son. The teenage son was staying with family or friends. She was staying in the parking lot of Walmart. It was about fall time when we started meeting with her, and as bad luck occurs, her car broke down, which was her only source of heat, so her only way to get anywhere. So we were able to get her some community funds, Uber, bus passes, and able to connect her with potential landlords. She was really honest about her story, what she had to work on, and why she wanted housing, and she was able to move in the night before Thanksgiving. So the landlord and the Catch team worked really hard to make sure her family had a home for the Thanksgiving weekend, and it was fantastic. While she was in Catch, she was able to buy a new car, attend to her physical health, and we were able to connect her with a long-term housing voucher. So her and her family will be sustainable on their own, despite being on a limited income.
Well, I mean, amazing job. Everyone here is impressed with that. I'm sure of it. And I'm sure there are many other stories just like that of how much of a difference you are making with all of your services. Now, Jeremy, we want to bring you into the conversation. We know affordable housing is definitely an issue here in the Treasure Valley. A lot of prices are going up. Inventory is changing, making a huge barrier to ending homelessness. So how is Catch working with local developers and property managers and owners, and how can people join in on this effort?
Yeah, I mean, I could talk about this a long time, but our goal right now is just to build as big of network as we can of people who are committed to having a healthy community. If we can get enough people all going in the same direction, we can solve homelessness in our community. Really, the foundation of a healthy community is access to safe and affordable housing, and we're just trying to get as many people as we can on board. Right now we're looking at ways that we can incentivize landlords or owners or developers so that they're more willing to work with us. We do have some funding that's available to do that, but the biggest thing is just getting the word out. Events like tonight, but also just anybody that we can talk to. And so that's what I'm asking community members to do, is just to talk to as many people as possible so that we can get everybody going in the same direction. I actually was talking to a lady the other day that worked for a property manager, and she found herself in a position that she had to move, and she found a rental at the place that she was working that was within her budget, and she was denied that rental because her income wasn't high enough for it, which I thought was like an ironic kind of summary of the problems that our clients face when we're helping them look for housing, is that there's just so many barriers. And this lady working for that property management company didn't make enough working there to even rent from her own agency. So anyway, just trying to get the word out, trying to get as many people on board so that we can all be working towards a healthy community.
All right. Well, thank you both so much for sharing a little bit more about what you do and your involvement. Thank you so much.
I knew what I was up against. I was up against being homeless, maybe finding a shelter, and that with my young son, who was only 11 at the time. And we chose not to go into shelter due to they had the lockdown, and that was quite scary for both of us. We tried, and I luckily had a tent with us, and so we tented.
Minnie's a good example of perseverance, of hope.
I was scared to death. I was so scared that staying in the park in the tent and keep my son and I safe.
I was trying to think of the best word, and I think it's courage.
At the time it took for this to happen, it seems slow as it's coming and going, and you're working hard at it. But now that it's here and I'm able to have my Christmas decorations out and have you all over, I can't believe it.
There were probably quite a few times when Mindy wanted to quit, wanted to yell at us, wanted to yell at the world, wanted to run.
When I was wanting to leave, I just was like, man, this is not going to be easy. I want to go. And she just calmly said, we hope you don't do that. And I was able to rest with that night and go, well, yeah, that's a lot more logical thing to do than to hop on a Greyhound.
But she didn't. An opportunity presented that none of us knew was even available, and we never would have known if she wouldn't have kept coming back. And I think that's a great example of you never know what's going to come next as long as you keep showing up.
I was so amazed at how quickly they were able to work with me. Just the extra miles they were actually able to do and willing to do was incredible.
Well, we help families in our community, so I feel it's vitally important. It's a part of the community. We are supported by the community. We accept community funds. We use that funds to go back towards community families. We help our families furnish their new homes with donations that we get from the community. It's kind of a full circle community engagement.
They'll do their best to get back to you and give you some sort of resource. So you might run into a lot more roadblocks. They're just willing to help remove those along the way and at your pace. And it's just worth so much.
Mindy actually did the work, and Mindy's the one who's achieved those goals. I am proud of her.
It's nice to feel like I can be home and relax, you know, because I know what I'm getting up to do tomorrow. I will always be an advocate, somebody that's speaking loudly for Catch, that it's the program that helps people, really helps anyone and everyone, the people who I saw through there. And thank you from the bottom of our hearts.
Well, what a great story. And remember, you guys can comment in your thoughts right now in the live stream. And we have a very special opportunity because Mindy is joining us tonight to answer a couple of questions about her experience with Catch. And we're joined again with the housing director, Jeremy Blade. So Mindy, what a story of resilience. We really appreciate you being here to open up and share your experiences with us. So tell us a little bit more about your story and your experiences with homelessness and getting involved with Catch.
I just wanted to say my experience with Catch was just amazing. You know, I'm a graduate of Catch, and that's their goal, is to really make it substantial and a long-lasting housing adventure. So I know that their model works really well. They housed me first, me and my family first, and I think it's so important because it's really hard out there when you're not getting enough sleep because you're in a tent or even a shelter and these things, and just the daily things of life, like did I miss the bus to go get that meal and things like that. My homelessness didn't last very long. I mean, I just still get so amazed because I had reached out and I just kept calling different, even different entities that might help. And I just became very dedicated to not wanting to live in the park. So, and then when Catch did get a hold of me, we just got right to work, and they do it at your pace enough to where you're able, the case plan comes right from your own words, and so much so they said, you think you want to be in and meet with us once a month, and I said no, let's do this once a week. But I knew that for me that would be what would work best, and that's what's another amazing thing about their program.
So we've heard a little bit about your past, but we want to know where you are now. I mean, what does your day-to-day look like? Where are you working? What do you do in your free time?
Yeah, my days are a lot more normal, and so are my sons. You know, we know we're laying our heads down, and it's a safe place. We're actually in our second year of our lease, and we call it home. But when I say normal, it's not a bad word. It's really great. My decisions are, you know, what to have for dinner as I'm coming home from work, or let's say when I'm headed off to work, can I get that one last load of laundry in, or things like this that are a lot more normal and enjoyable. Would not complain about those decisions. I'm currently working as a customer experience supervisor, and I had come quite a ways. I did have a job when I met Catch. I was a housekeeper for a hotel, but just the amazing way that Catch has worked with me and my case manager had worked with me, we're able to remove obstacles along the way so significantly that I'm at this spot now.
Well, I hear congratulations are in order for your new job or your new position. So congratulations, certainly something to celebrate there. And we want to hear from Jeremy. I mean, what is it like from your perspective to hear Mindy's story? I'm sure you see it in several of your cases, but what is it like to hear her resilience, and what do you want others to learn from it?
Resilience is a great word for Mindy. Actually, I love that word, and thinking about Mindy and what she's accomplished in her life. Mindy encounters stuff that we've all encountered. We've all had places in our life where we feel so stressed, we don't see a solution, we don't know what the solution could be, and we get stuck in that fight or flight. We just want to run or we want to fight. We don't know what to do. And unfortunately, most of us don't stick around long enough until that solution is visible to us, it presents. And Mindy was willing to do that. It was hard sometimes watching her get to that edge where she wanted to run or fight, but she kept coming back. She kept coming back each week, like she said. And lo and behold, a opportunity presented that none of us even knew was available. And that's just amazing to watch that happen when someone can keep fighting and keep working towards something and an opportunity presents itself. I remember at one point working with Mindy where she told us in one of her case management meetings, like, I don't think I can work. I don't feel like I'm in a good spot right now. I don't feel like I can work. And I mean, it makes me tingly just to hear that she's now a supervisor and she's in a place in her life where her biggest concern is, what am I going to make for dinner driving home from work? Like, that is such an amazing difference than that case management meeting that I was talking about.
Yes, certainly a lot of progress there to be celebrated. And Mindy, what is it that you want people to know about those who maybe are currently facing homelessness? What are some misconceptions out there that you wish people understood better?
Sure. I think that in general, people are thinking that people put themselves there in every scenario, that they're generalized, that people have made poor choices and that they somewhat deserve to be homeless. And I absolutely would disagree. Life choices can be a part, definitely, of some hopelessness, but there are things that are just out of your control. Like, such for me, I was hit by a motorist on my bicycle and was injured for a good year. My settlement wasn't coming through, things like that. And just right as I was getting back to work, the pandemic hit. And that was it. I had a 3-day evict on my door, and that can happen to anybody, really, with situational things that fall into life.
Well, we do know, Mindy, that you are a mother, and I know your son is here with us. Does Valor want to pop on and share something with us?
This is my wonderful son, Valor.
Hi, Valor. What do you want people to know about your mom?
She good.
I've heard you're a lot more talkative than that. Is there anything that you want to share about what you've been through as a family?
Ask him about Dolphins.
I'll give you a better question. What can you tell me about dolphins?
Wait, say that again.
What can you tell me about dolphins? I hear you know a lot about animals.
Okay. Well, every dolphin has a specific click when they're born. So it's click this, click, click. It's a type of noise you make underwater to send messages and understand each other. See, they also will take sea sponge and scrape up the ground to find like starfish and other crustaceans and all that, and it's just an easy meal. They'll warn each other if there's a shark nearby. It could be hostile, anything like that, and they'll spin around fishes and stuff like that. So they will raise them up into the water where they have nowhere to go. So that's an easy thing for birds, and they catch them, and easy meals for dolphins.
Say hi, Caroline.
Hi, Caroline.
Well, yes, very, very smart animals. We can tell you are incredibly smart as well. Your mom must be incredibly proud. And we want to thank both of you for being part of tonight's event, sharing your story of everything that you've gone through. And it's such a great testament to everything that Catch as an organization is able to achieve.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
homelessness isn't an out there thing. It's not this someone out there is experiencing homelessness. It's all of our neighbors. Like some of the kids that might be sitting next to them in the classroom are spending the night in a car or an emergency shelter. So really, like, we're all interconnected, and addressing homelessness makes the entire community healthier.
Our goal is to end homelessness in Idaho. There are way too many folks that don't have housing, don't have a secure and stable place to sleep every night, and our goal is to end that.
What we want to do is we want to resolve everyone's housing crisis as quickly as we possibly can, because what research shows us is that the longer someone stays in homelessness, the harder it is for them to stabilize later on down the road.
To be honest, like, there are lots of communities that are beyond the point where there's real hope. Portland, Seattle, Los Angeles, like, there are communities that really can't end homelessness. And we are not at that point. We are at a point right now where if we're proactive, we can keep ourselves from getting to that space. And it really is going to take a lot of community will.
I was homeless in Boise, and I lived out of my car when I found Our Path Home, and they helped me transition out of my car and into my home.
We end family homelessness in Idaho by building partnerships between communities, landlords, property owners, developers, anybody that has housing or can create housing or can find housing, and the folks that are looking for housing.
They've got rental assistants that they fundraise and produce. They've got case managers that can work with a resident, and their focus is housing, but as they're working with these individuals, their goal is to get them into a stable living arrangement.
When people first come in, what we want to do is we really kind of want to triage their situation. So what we do is we bring them in and we do a housing assessment. They sit down for about an hour with our specialist and really dig into what their individual situation is so that we can direct them to the right resources and programs. Once they have done a housing assessment, if they have income that we can possibly utilize, we brainstorm ways to find them housing, whether it's traditional studio and up, or whether it's a room to rent from a complete stranger. That is where they fall onto my plate.
Going from being homeless and living on the street to actually working with a program where I could possibly have my own roof over my head and my son's head, and have like a safe place so that we can progress in our lives. That feeling, I don't even, there's no words to describe it. As I started building up all of these things, like filling out applications or filling out resumes, it wasn't so scary to me, and my self-esteem would go up. And I think that it made me realize that, like, I can do this, and I can be a normal tenant, and I'm able to sustain a home.
They helped me throughout the beginning of the process, from getting a tenant to fill out an application, going through, giving me their background history, and then recently having those particular applicants come into my office and meet face to face so I can see exactly who I'm speaking with, who I'm going to possibly be working with.
You want them to be successful just like the landlord would. So we do a lot of work with these families to make sure that it works out.
It was all about what I wanted to achieve, my goals, and meeting with my case manager and getting those resources to help me with my goals. I was able to, get used to being on my own again. I was able to get off drugs and just be confident in myself that I can do it. When I got the keys and I started moving things in, and I finally could just sit down and look at my home that I had, it was an awe moment for me, and it made me realize that that I could do anything. It was the most incredible feeling in the world.
As this valley grows, we're going to face pressure. Homelessness is going to continue to be an issue. If we step up now, do something about this together as a community, we can solve this. This is a very solvable problem. We can win this one. Let's get on it. Let's do it.
I'm very passionate about the population that I work with. I think that some of our clients have some of the greatest stories of survival that I've ever heard in my life. And these are unique individuals that deserve to be treated like humans. And I always want to be a light or a beacon for someone when they need it.
Join us in ending family homelessness.
Well, it's a very powerful video. Love to hear those stories about how Catch is making a difference right here in the Treasure Valley and how we will continue to do so moving forward as this growth continues. So now we're going to be hearing from the Catch Executive Director, Stephanie Day. So Stephanie, thank you for being with us and share a little bit with us about the current situation right now. What is Catch doing and what does homelessness in the Treasure Valley look like right now?
Yeah, so homelessness in the Treasure Valley right now, we have about 2,400 individuals, so families with children and single adult households that are currently experiencing homelessness, meaning that they're either in shelters or they're in vehicles or they're literally on the streets. So that's not a number including people that are in hotels or staying with friends or family, just people who literally have nowhere else to go. And that number has grown quite a bit during COVID. Before COVID, we generally had about 150 families within Ada County at any given time that were experiencing homelessness. And currently we have about 230. So that number has definitely jumped quite a bit in the last couple of years. And we are really working on trying to reduce it and to get those families back into housing.
So we all know like the housing market in our area has been crazy. Inventory, as we mentioned earlier, is the greatest barrier to ending homelessness. So tell us a little bit more about what Catch is doing to work with these property managers, these builders, these owners, and what does this term designated unit mean?
Yeah, that is a great question. I've worked in the Treasure Valley on homelessness issues for the last 13 years, and I've never seen a housing market like we have right now. The last 2 years have been markedly different. Every year it seems like we're like, oh, things are worse this year. They're never going to get worse. And then they get worse the next year, and then they get worse the next year. But the last 2 years have been markedly different. We have historically low vacancy rates in affordable housing and housing in general in the Treasure Valley. And so we've had to try to get really creative to figure out how do we make our program attractive to people who have units that can rent to our families. So we have created several, we call it a landlord partnership program, incentives to hopefully encourage landlords to work with our program. So we have what's called a damage fund. So if there are damages to a unit beyond the cost of a deposit, we can help reimburse the cost of repairs. We can do a vacancy payment. So if a family leaves a unit before their lease is up, if the landlord's willing to move another one of our families in, we'll pay for any time that the unit is vacant being turned over. And we can do double or triple deposits. We just look for really creative ways to try to help working with Catch not be so much of a financial burden for the landlord, because in the past we would maybe be asking a landlord to sacrifice $50 or $100 a month to rent a unit below market rate. But now the market has gone nuts and the rents are very high. And so now landlords are potentially looking at losing more money than they would have in the past. So we're trying to find creative ways to make that up. And we also have dedicated staff that are working on maintaining relationships, making sure that landlords are feeling supported and like they're getting everything that they need from us. And one of our main strategies, because housing, I'm sure they've mentioned earlier in the program, is the biggest challenge that we face right now, is working with developers to dedicate units within existing complexes and or within complexes to be built in the future for our families, which means, let's say a unit would, in a complex, they're going to dedicate one unit out of 400. And that unit would, if it was at market rate, would be $2,200 a month. But maybe the amount that we're allowed to pay, that's the fair market rent rate, is $1,700. So that means that the developer is willing to rent that unit to our family at the $1,700 rate instead of the $2,200 rate while they're in our program, and then after they graduate from our program as well. So it's really this partnership between developers and our program to try to create access to affordable housing inventory.
Partnerships like that are incredibly important. I mean, homelessness, it's a community issue and it's a very complex issue as well. And we know that there are a lot of misconceptions out there. We've talked about some of them. These are, many of them, people who are employed, who have jobs, who are working to find a home and just can't afford the current situation. So what do you want people to know about what it's really like and detangle some of those myths that are out there?
Yeah. So I actually pulled a few stats. So I have people sometimes ask me, what does affordable housing mean? Like, what is that really? And so the real national guidance on this is that nobody should be paying more than 30% of their income toward their housing, or you're going to be in a really difficult financial situation. So we are talking about a unit that would be 30% of your income or below. So I looked up a few jobs in the area. And for example, if you were working at Barbacoa as a line cook, you might be making between $17 and $20 an hour. And so you would want to find a unit where 30% of that income was going towards your rent. So that's what we're really talking about. I think a lot of times we've thought in the past that, oh, homelessness is about substance misuse or mental health, things like that, laziness, bad choices, like all of those things. And while sometimes those things could be a factor in what leads to someone experiencing homelessness, there's a much bigger structural system that creates homelessness in that we just don't have any affordable housing. So before COVID, we already did not have enough affordable housing. All of the affordable housing programs have had 2 or 3 year wait lists already. And then during COVID, we had a lot of people move to the community. And then also during COVID, like last year, everybody that owned a rental that maybe before was able to rent that unit at an affordable rate sold them because you could make a lot of money selling your property last year. So that means that the mortgage is now 3 or 4 times what it was, and the rents are 3 or 4 times what they were to keep up with the mortgage. So it's really the space and time where we're actually losing a lot of our affordable housing. And it's a really obviously complicated issue, but low vacancy rates and the kind of the disparity that's growing between the cost of rent and the increase in income. Last year and the year before, incomes did increase a little bit, but it was not nearly enough to keep up with the pace that rents were increasing. So it's this mathematical equation that just continues to grow apart. Income and rents are not increasing at the same rates.
Well, and with that disparity comes, I'm sure, a lot of people who have never been in this situation before that are now struggling to keep up with the expenses that they used to be able to afford. Even if they are employed, they're now facing that situation that we've been talking about all night. So, Stephanie, we want to hear more about the Our Path Home partnership. So how is Catch working with local government agencies with similar missions to help end homelessness here in the Treasure Valley?
That is a great question. So the good news is, I know that all of this can sound really dire and dark, but the good news is we actually have a lot of really brilliant, big-hearted people in the community that genuinely care about this topic and that are working really hard to figure out how do we move the needle in the opposite direction. So we partner with lots of different organizations, with the City of Boise, with the Boise City Ada County Housing Authority, with the VA, lots of different organizations to make sure that as a system, like what Catch does impacts the community and what the Housing Authority does impacts the community. And we're really trying to make sure that that system, that all of us working together is flowing well for people that are experiencing a housing crisis, and that we're being as effective as possible at getting people out of homelessness. So we have a really, really strong partnership, support each other. And I think that that's actually a fairly unique dynamic in a community. I think in a lot of communities, nonprofits can be competing with one another for resources, but really locally, we're very fortunate in having a provider community that is really collaborative, and we understand like it takes a village and we all need each other to end homelessness. And that's the only thing that matters. So we're really fortunate to be in the community that we're in.
Well, and on that note, the community who is watching tonight and joining us virtually will end things on a call to action. So Stephanie, what is it that you want everyone who's watching from home right now to do? What can they tell their friends? How can we help people get on board with your mission at Catch and help end this problem of homelessness in the Treasure Valley?
Yeah, so I'll break it down into 3 easy ways to get involved. So the first one would be this year we really want to do a big push to educate the community around homelessness. Probably like less than 1% of us will ever experience homelessness. So it's really hard to understand something well if we don't have that experience. And if we don't understand something, sometimes we can misinterpret things or misunderstand, or things can even be kind of scary. And so we just really want to do a push to help anybody who is curious about homelessness or wants to know more about it. We want to help people understand it more so that it becomes less scary for folks in the community. Another way that people can get involved is by helping us connect to housing. So if you are someone who has a unit that you rent and you're able to rent that at an affordable rate, we would love to work with you. So please reach out to us. And then another way that you could also get involved is by donating at events like Catch the Flavor. We also have a fun fundraiser this year called Catch 22, where we're working on helping people understand that the families that we serve are making Catch 22 decisions every day. Am I going to buy groceries to feed my kids, or am I going to buy this medication that my child with diabetes needs? And like sometimes making those really, really difficult decisions. So it is the year 2022. Catch 22 is our fundraiser campaign this year, and all of those ways that you could plug in to help support the mission as well.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Stephanie, for everything that you and your team are doing to help conquer homelessness here in our community.
We're really lucky to be able to be here and do it. So we feel really appreciative to the community, because we can't do it without the support of the community. It really does take a whole village.
Well, on that note, that wraps up our event tonight. Of course, if you took any pictures or videos, as we mentioned earlier, be sure to tag @CatchIdaho when you share those pictures on social media. Share them with your friends and family, and use that hashtag #CatchTheFlavor. That's all what tonight's event is all about. And remember, that online auction is open right now, and the fundraiser will be up until April 8th. You can donate, place your bids, purchase a Catch Family Aid basket, and help Catch raise enough money to house 10 more families here in the Treasure Valley through their program services. So together we can and will continue that fight against homelessness here in our community. Thank you so much for joining us virtually. We hope you have a wonderful evening.